Hi, I'm Anne, and I'm with the International Civil Liberties Monitoring Group, or ICLMG. So far, we've released 2 videos on Bill C-59, the new National Security Act. Make sure to watch them as well. Today, we'll be talking about the changes brought by Bill C-59 to the Anti-Terrorism Act of 2015, more commonly known as Bill C-51. One of the government's main arguments in favor of Bill C-59 is that it fixes Bill C-51. But is that really true? First, let's look at the disruption powers. Bill C-51 gave CSIS new power to go beyond their usual work of spying on people, which is already bad enough. It gave them powers to disrupt threats. This means they could take actions like asking parents to stop their children from spending time with certain friends, like secretly change the text of emails or websites, tamper with equipment or mail, or even stop you from being able to travel in and out of the country. It even allows them to contravene to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms if they get a warrant. Under Part 4 of Bill C-59 on the amendments of the CSIS Act, there are some changes to the disruption powers. But it's been pointed out many times before that these powers should not even exist. CSIS was created in 1984 as a recommendation of the Macdonald Commission of Inquiry into the illegal activities of the RCMP, attempting to thwart the Quebec independence movement. The Commission's main recommendation was to create CSIS in order to separate intelligence gathering from the disruption tactic used in policing, because spy agencies operate in secret and can't be trusted with disruption powers. On top of all that, it hasn't been demonstrated that we need these kinds of powers to keep us safe. But it has been demonstrated that these kinds of powers can be abused and used against individuals and groups expressing dissent, and against racialized communities such as Muslim and Arab folks. By introducing disruption powers to CSIS, C-51 has shown us that, again, we've learned nothing from history. So in summary, we think that disruption powers should simply be removed. Another change to C-51 are the amendments to the Security of Canada Information Sharing Act. SCISA was brought in by C-51, and it legislated the sharing of Canadians' information between many federal departments when the information was relevant to an activity that undermined the security of Canada. The law has been widely denounced. Bill C-59 renames the Security of Canada Information Sharing Act, SCISA, to the Security of Canada Information Disclosure Act, SCIDA. Bill C-59 also clarifies the definition of activities that undermine the security of Canada, and it also says that to qualify as undermining the sovereignty, security, or territorial integrity of Canada, an activity should constitute significant and widespread interference with critical infrastructure. At first glance, this looks like an improvement, but in reality, SCIDA could still cover environmental and indigenous dissent, which often entails the blocking of roads and bridges in order to protect land and water from dangerous energy projects that communities have not consented to. It could also cover activities related to indigenous land claims, if those are defined as undermining the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Canada. SCIDA would also apply to conduct that takes place in Canada but undermines the security of another state. We are concerned that this could allow the sharing of information on people who are involved in international solidarity campaigns, such as the Boycott, Divest, and Sanction or BDS movement. SCISA should just be scrapped and replaced with strong privacy protections. Another change to C-51 are amendments to the Secure Air Travel Act, or the No-Fly List. The No-Fly List is a government's list that serves to stop people who are supposedly a threat from boarding a plane. Once your name is on the list, it's really hard to remove it. Dozens of Canadian kids have seen their names pop up, mostly resulting in delays, but also worrying them and their families about their future. The list possibly contains dozens of adults also caught up as false positives. The government is refusing to reveal how many people are on the list. Bill C-59 brings amendments to the no-fly list, but the fundamentally problematic nature of the no-fly list remains. 1. You cannot know if you are on the list until you get prevented from boarding a flight. 2. If you are listed, you can't find out what information about you is included. But Bill C-59 allows the list to be shared with foreign governments with no limits on how that information can be used by that foreign state. Not only is this unfair, the sharing with other countries could lead to risks of detention and mistreatment abroad. And 3. If you have been told you are on the list, you can ask to be delisted. If the minister refuses to delist you, you can go to the court to ask a judge to review the minister's decision. The government lawyers will then present the court with information relevant to the listing, but you have no access to this information. How is someone supposed to defend themselves if they don't know the evidence against them? This is a flagrant violation of our constitutional right to due process. There is no evidence that no-fly lists improve aviation safety. Travelers on these lists are deemed too dangerous to travel, but too harmless to arrest. They are restricted for boarding aircraft, but not trains, ferries, buses, subways. In a criminal code, we have other means of keeping suspected terrorists off airplanes. Seeking a peace bond, laying charges, or seeking a court order for the imposition of a travel ban. And finally, we know that the US no-fly list is often used to pressure people on the list to become informants. Nothing in the Canadian system protects the public from such abuses. The no-fly list needs to be repealed. And finally, let's talk about Bill C-59's amendments to the Criminal Code. The new National Security Act would roll back several of Bill C-51's problematic changes to the Criminal Code. The offense brought in by C-51 of promoting terrorism offenses in general would change to counseling terrorism offenses. This is a much narrower and clearer wording and won't affect freedom of expression. Investigative hearings, which were actually introduced with Canada's first Anti-Terrorism Act in 2001, would be repealed, something we completely agree with. And thresholds for preventative detention, which were lowered with Bill C-51, are increased. The change would ensure that an arrest is necessary to prevent a crime rather than simply likely to prevent a crime. We believe that this change should also be applied to peace bonds. There is one downside. Bill C-59 changes the terrorist entities listing, extending its review period from 2 years to 5 years, which is too long. We have expressed significant concerns in the past about the terrorist entities listing, including its political nature and its impact on due process and freedom of association. Ideally, Bill C-59 would have repealed the terrorist entities listing in favor of simply using laws that already prohibits organizations from taking part in criminal activities. That's it for the changes to C-51. Bill C-59 is being studied in committee right now. If you are concerned like us, make sure to let the Parliament know about it. Click the link in the description to easily and quickly send a message to your MP and to the committee and share the action widely. Check out our website, subscribe to our emailing list, follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and become a supporter on Patreon. The links are in the description below. Stay tuned for our last video on the new and very troubling surveillance and cyber powers included in Bill C-59. Thanks for watching.